Good day, my dear friends. I want you to pause for just a moment and ask yourself a simple but life-changing question. What if the greatest battle of your life is happening right now and you don't even realize it? What if heaven has been preparing you for something extraordinary, but one hidden habit is quietly stealing your purpose? Every day, countless people wake up believing they have plenty of time. Yet none of us knows how many opportunities remain. If today were your final chance to become the person God created you to be, would you keep living the same way, or would you choose differently? This message is for every heart that has ever felt forgotten, exhausted, uncertain, or desperate for hope. If you are listening today, perhaps this is the reminder your soul has been waiting for. Many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment to obey God, to forgive someone, to begin again, or to step into their calling. They tell themselves, "Tomorrow I will change." But tomorrow is never guaranteed. Life moves faster than we expect, and every moment wasted cannot be reclaimed. God has already given you today. And today is enough to take one step closer to the purpose He has placed inside you. There is one mistake that quietly destroys more dreams than failure ever could. It is the habit of delaying what God has already placed on your heart. Every time you ignore His gentle voice, your heart becomes a little less sensitive. Every time you choose comfort over obedience, fear grows stronger. The enemy rarely needs to stop you completely. He only needs to convince you to wait one more day. Delay has stolen countless destinies that were meant to shine. Perhaps you have been comparing your life with everyone around you. Social media shows success, happiness, wealth, and recognition, leaving you wondering why your own journey feels so slow. But comparison is a trap that blinds you to God's unique plan. You were never called to copy someone else's story. Your assignment is different, your timing is different, and your victories will come through faithfulness, not competition. God often prepares His greatest servants in seasons of silence. While you think nothing is happening, heaven is shaping your character. Roots grow deep before trees reach high. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Gold is refined in fire. Your waiting season is not evidence that God has forgotten you. It may be proof that He is preparing you for responsibilities greater than you can currently imagine. Stop allowing fear to make decisions for your future. Fear whispers that you are not qualified, not strong enough, not intelligent enough, or not worthy enough. But God has never called perfect people. He calls willing hearts. The greatest miracles begin when ordinary people decide to trust an extraordinary God. Your limitations do not limit Him. When He opens a door, no human being can permanently close it. Another dangerous habit is carrying yesterday's guilt into today's opportunities. Some people replay old failures every morning until they convince themselves they deserve nothing better. But God's mercy is greater than your mistakes. He knows every chapter of your story, including the pages you wish nobody else could read. Yet He still calls you forward instead of backward. You cannot embrace a new future while holding tightly to an old shame. Be careful not to ignore the quiet moments of prayer. We often ask God to speak through dramatic signs while neglecting the peaceful silence where He gently guides our hearts. Strength is built in private before it is displayed in public. The battles won behind closed doors become the victories everyone else eventually sees. Never underestimate the power of a faithful heart that seeks God consistently. even when nobody is watching. There are distractions everywhere. Endless entertainment, endless scrolling, endless worries, endless excuses. None of these things seem dangerous on their own, yet together they slowly consume the hours that could have been invested in purpose. Every minute you spend feeding distraction is a minute taken away from becoming the person God designed you to be. Protect your attention because your attention shapes your future. Remember that being chosen does not mean life will become easier. It often means the road will become more meaningful. There will be moments when people misunderstand you, reject you, or question your decisions. Stay faithful anyway. The opinions of people change with the wind, but God's purpose remains steady. Do not measure your value by applause. Measure it by your obedience. When life becomes difficult, resist the temptation to believe that God has abandoned you. Storms do not always mean you are going the wrong direction. Sometimes they are proof that you are moving toward something worth fighting for. The strongest faith is not built in comfortable seasons, but in moments when you choose to trust even without seeing immediate answers. Imagine standing at the end of your life, looking back with complete honesty. What would hurt more, failing after trying, or never trying because fear convinced you to stay where it was safe? Regret is often heavier than failure. Failure teaches lessons, but regret keeps asking questions that can never be answered. Choose courage today instead of wondering, what if, tomorrow? So if you truly believe God has placed a purpose inside you, stop doubting what He already knows about you. Stop delaying the changes you know you need to make. Stop letting fear, comparison, guilt, and distraction steal the future that was meant for you. Time is precious, opportunities are limited, and your calling is too important to ignore. Lift your eyes, strengthen your faith, and take the next faithful step. God sees every hidden struggle, every silent prayer, and every act of obedience. Keep walking, keep believing, and keep trusting, because the greatest chapter of your story may be closer than you think. The time to begin is not tomorrow. The time is now. There is a silent danger that has defeated more dreams than failure ever has. And it is not a lack of talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It is the habit of waiting. So many people believe they will begin tomorrow. Tomorrow they will pray more faithfully. Tomorrow they will forgive the person who hurt them. Tomorrow they will leave behind the habit they know is destroying them. Tomorrow they will finally trust God with the calling placed on their hearts. Yet tomorrow has a way of becoming next week, next month, and eventually another year. While we wait for the perfect moment, life continues to move forward. The opportunities God places before us do not always remain forever. Every sunrise is a reminder that time is a gift, not a guarantee. The question is not whether God is ready to work in your life. The real question is whether you are willing to stop postponing the step He has already asked you to take. Many people imagine that God's calling always arrives through dramatic signs or extraordinary experiences. They expect thunder from heaven or a voice that leaves no room for doubt. But more often, God's direction comes quietly. It appears as a gentle conviction in your heart, a persistent thought you cannot escape, or a burden that continues to grow stronger every time you try to ignore it. Deep inside, you already know there are things you need to change. You know there are conversations you need to have, habits you need to leave behind, and acts of obedience you need to embrace. Yet fear whispers that you should wait until you feel more confident, more prepared, or more certain. The truth is that confidence often comes after obedience, not before it. God does not ask you to see the entire journey before taking the first step. He asks you to trust Him enough to move forward even when the path ahead is not completely visible. Think about how often people delay their purpose because they believe they are not ready. They tell themselves they need more education, more money, more experience, or more approval from others. While preparation is valuable, endless preparation can become another excuse for avoiding action. There comes a moment when waiting is no longer wisdom. It becomes fear wearing the disguise of responsibility. God has always used ordinary people who were willing to trust Him despite their weaknesses. Throughout life, we discover that our greatest limitations become the very places where God's strength is revealed. If you wait until you feel completely capable, you may spend your entire life standing at the starting line instead of running the race you were created to finish. Sometimes the greatest obstacle is not the world around you, but the conversation happening inside your own mind. You hear thoughts saying, "Someone else could do this better. What if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if I disappoint everyone?" Those thoughts grow louder the longer you remain inactive. Fear feeds on delay. Every day you hesitate, fear becomes more convincing. But something remarkable happens when you finally choose obedience. Courage begins to replace fear. Not because every uncertainty disappears, but because each faithful step reminds you that God is walking with you. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is choosing to move even when fear is present. There are people listening today who have carried the same dream in their hearts for years. They know they are meant to encourage others, serve their community, strengthen their family, start something meaningful, or become a source of hope for those who are struggling. Yet they keep waiting for the perfect circumstances. They believe they will begin when life becomes easier, when finances improve, or when every problem disappears. But if you study life carefully, you will notice that perfect circumstances rarely exist. Every season brings its own challenges. If you wait for a life without obstacles, you may never begin at all. God often works through imperfect situations to accomplish extraordinary purposes. Your willingness to obey in difficult seasons may become a testimony that inspires someone else to trust Him as well. One of the enemy's greatest strategies is not always to convince you to abandon your purpose completely. Instead, he simply encourages delay. He says there is plenty of time. He tells you to enjoy comfort a little longer. He convinces you that tomorrow will be a better day to start. But every day spent delaying is a day that cannot be recovered. Time is one of God's most valuable gifts, and unlike money or possessions, once it is gone, it never returns. Imagine standing years from now, looking back and realizing that the opportunities you ignored were actually divine invitations. Imagine discovering that the small step you kept postponing was the very beginning of the life you had been praying for. Regret often grows not from what we attempted and failed, but from what we never attempted at all. Destroying God's calling also affects the people around you. We often think our decisions only influence our own lives, but that is rarely true. Someone may be waiting for the encouragement you are afraid to give. A struggling friend may need the kindness you keep postponing. A family member may need your forgiveness before healing can begin. A child may be watching your example, learning what faith looks like through your actions rather than your words. When you choose obedience, your life becomes a light that reaches farther than you can imagine. You may never fully know how many people were strengthened because you decided to say yes instead of waiting another day. Perhaps you feel that you have delayed for too long. Maybe years have passed, and you believe the opportunity is gone forever. Do not let shame become another excuse for remaining still. As long as God has given you breath, there is still purpose ahead. His grace is greater than lost time. He can restore what seems wasted and bring beauty from seasons filled with hesitation. The important thing is not how long you waited yesterday, but what you choose to do today. Every new morning is an invitation to begin again. God's mercy is fresh, His patience is remarkable, and His desire is not to condemn you for yesterday's delay, but to lead you into today's obedience. So ask yourself honestly, what have you been putting off that you know God has been placing on your heart? Is it a step of faith? Is it forgiving someone? Is it leaving behind a destructive habit? Is it becoming the person your family needs you to be? Is it finally trusting God instead of trusting your fears? Whatever it is, stop waiting for a perfect moment that may never come. The greatest journeys often begin with one small act of obedience. Take that step today. Trust that God sees what you cannot yet see. He knows the doors that will open, the strength you will receive, and the lives that will be changed because you chose faith over delay. Your calling is too precious to keep postponing, and your time is too valuable to waste. The moment to obey is not someday. The moment is now. There are three invisible chains that quietly hold countless people back from becoming who God created them to be: fear, guilt, and comparison. They do not make loud announcements when they enter your life. Instead, they settle into your thoughts so gradually that you begin to believe their lies are the truth. Before long, fear tells you what you cannot do. Guilt tells you what you no longer deserve, and comparison tells you that someone else is more worthy than you. Together, these three forces can keep a person standing still even when God is calling them to move forward. If you want to walk into the future God has prepared for you, you must stop allowing these voices to become louder than His promises. Fear has an incredible ability to make small obstacles look like impossible mountains. It whispers that you are too weak, too inexperienced, too broken, or too late to make a difference. It convinces you that failure will define your life forever if you dare to take one step of faith. Because of fear, many people never start the business they dream about, never speak the truth that could change someone's life, never repair a broken relationship, and never answer the calling God has placed in their hearts. Fear does not always lock the door. Sometimes it simply convinces you never to reach for the handle. It creates imaginary barriers that seem stronger than reality itself. But remember this: fear grows strongest when it is obeyed. Every time you surrender to it, it gains more influence over your decisions. Every time you choose faith instead, its grip begins to weaken. God has never promised that the path of purpose would be free from uncertainty. In fact, nearly every meaningful step of faith requires trusting Him before you have all the answers. If you wait until every doubt disappears, you may wait forever. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to trust God more than the voice of fear. The people who leave a lasting impact on the world are not those who never felt afraid. They are the ones who refused to let fear become the author of their story. They understood that God is greater than every obstacle, stronger than every challenge, and faithful even when the future cannot be clearly seen. Then there is guilt, a burden that many people carry long after God has offered them forgiveness. Some wake up every morning replaying yesterday's mistakes, believing their failures have permanently disqualified them from living a meaningful life. They remember the words they wish they had never spoken, the opportunities they wasted, the people they hurt, or the choices they deeply regret. Instead of learning from the past, they become trapped inside it. Guilt convinces them that they are defined by their worst moments, but that is not how God sees his children. He sees the possibility of redemption where others only see failure. He sees growth where others only see weakness. He sees a future filled with hope, even when you can only remember your past. Holding on to guilt is like trying to drive forward while staring only into the rear-view mirror. You cannot fully embrace the future if your eyes remain fixed on yesterday. God does not ignore your mistakes, but he also does not intend for them to become your permanent identity. Every failure can become a lesson. Every wound can become a testimony. Every painful chapter can become evidence of his mercy. The enemy wants you to believe that your past is your prison, but God wants you to understand that his grace is greater than your greatest regret. Your mistakes may explain where you have been, but they do not have to determine where you are going. Comparison is another silent thief that robs people of joy, confidence, and purpose. It has become even more dangerous in a world where we constantly see carefully selected moments from other people's lives. We scroll through images of success, happiness, wealth, achievements, and recognition, forgetting that we are only seeing highlights rather than the complete story. Slowly, we begin measuring our lives against someone else's journey. We wonder why they seem to be moving ahead while we feel left behind. We question our own value because someone else's blessings appear bigger than ours. But comparison blinds you to the unique calling God has placed on your life. Imagine a beautiful garden filled with different flowers. The rose does not become more beautiful by trying to be a sunflower, and the sunflower does not become stronger by wishing it were an oak tree. Each one fulfills its purpose by becoming exactly what it was created to be. In the same way, God never intended for you to imitate someone else's life. Your gifts are different, your experiences are different, your struggles are different, even your timing is different. What God is building in your life cannot be measured by looking at someone else's path. The moment you stop comparing yourself with others is often the moment you begin appreciating the incredible work God is doing within you. Comparison also creates unnecessary discouragement because you rarely see the sacrifices behind another person's success. You may admire someone's achievements without knowing the years of struggle, disappointment, rejection, and perseverance they endured. Everyone carries battles that are invisible to the outside world. Instead of envying another person's blessings, celebrate them while remaining faithful to your own journey. Gratitude creates peace, while comparison creates frustration. A thankful heart recognizes that God has not forgotten you simply because someone else is receiving a blessing today. When fear, guilt, and comparison work together, they become a powerful distraction from God's purpose. Fear tells you not to begin. Guilt tells you that you are unworthy to continue. Comparison tells you that someone else could do it better. If you believe these lies, you will spend your life doubting what God has already declared about you. But when you replace those lies with faith, everything begins to change. Faith reminds you that God equips those He calls. Grace reminds you that your past does not have the final word. Gratitude reminds you that your journey is valuable because it was designed by God Himself. Today is the day to let go of these invisible chains. Refuse to allow fear to make your decisions. Refuse to carry guilt that God is ready to forgive. Refuse to compare your life with paths that were never meant to be yours. Lift your eyes above the opinions of people and the doubts within your own heart. Trust the One who knows every detail of your life and still calls you forward with love and purpose. You are not too late. You are not beyond redemption. You are not forgotten. God knows your name, your struggles, your dreams, and your future. Walk forward with confidence, not because you are perfect, but because the one leading you is faithful. When you choose faith over fear, grace over guilt, and purpose over comparison, you begin to live the life God intended from the very beginning. Time is one of the greatest gifts God has ever placed into human hands. Yet it is also the one gift that can never be recovered once it is gone. Money can be earned again, possessions can be replaced, and opportunities may return in different forms, but every passing minute disappears forever. That is why the way you spend your time reveals the direction of your heart. Every sunrise is more than the beginning of another day. It is a fresh reminder that God has trusted you with another opportunity to live with purpose. None of us knows how many tomorrows remain. So the question is not whether we have enough time. The question is whether we are using the time we have in a way that honors the one who gave it to us. Many people live as though life has no ending. They make plans for years ahead, but rarely think about how they are living today. They postpone important conversations, delay acts of kindness, ignore opportunities to grow closer to God, and assume there will always be another chance. Yet life has a way of changing in a single moment. A phone call, an unexpected event, or a sudden loss can remind us how fragile our time truly is. This is not meant to fill us with fear, but with wisdom. When we understand that life is precious, we begin to value every day instead of wasting it on things that have no lasting meaning. One of the greatest thieves of time in this generation is distraction. Never before have people had so many ways to occupy their minds while accomplishing so little that truly matters. Hours disappear through endless scrolling, meaningless arguments, constant entertainment, and endless worrying about things beyond our control. None of these activities seem dangerous at first, but together they slowly steal the attention that could have been invested in prayer, learning, serving others, strengthening relationships, and pursuing God's purpose. The enemy does not always need to lead people into obvious sin. Sometimes he simply keeps them distracted long enough that they never discover what they were truly created to do. Think about how often you say, "I don't have enough time." The truth is that most people have the same 24 hours each day. The difference is not found in the amount of time, but in the priorities that fill it. Whatever you value most will eventually receive the greatest portion of your attention. If your schedule is always full, but your soul remains empty, perhaps it is time to ask whether your priorities reflect what truly matters. A busy life is not always a meaningful life. Activity without purpose can leave a person exhausted while producing very little that lasts. Using your time wisely also means paying attention to the small decisions that shape your future. Great lives are rarely built through one dramatic moment. They are built through countless ordinary choices repeated day after day. Choosing to pray even when you feel tired, choosing to encourage someone instead of criticizing them, choosing honesty when lying seems easier, choosing forgiveness instead of bitterness, choosing discipline instead of comfort. These small acts may seem insignificant at the time, but over months and years, they become the foundation of a life that reflects God's character. Never underestimate the power of daily faithfulness. Small seeds planted consistently eventually produce a great harvest. Relationships are another area where time should be invested carefully. Many people spend years chasing success while neglecting the people who matter most. Families drift apart because conversations are replaced with distractions. Friendships grow weak because no one makes time to care. Children grow older while parents remain too busy to notice. One day, people often realize they achieved many goals, but missed countless moments that could never be repeated. God never intended success to come at the cost of love. The greatest legacy you leave behind will not be measured by your possessions, but by the lives you touched through kindness, patience, generosity, and faithful presence. Using your remaining time wisely also means refusing to stay trapped in bitterness. Holding on to anger wastes precious years that could be spent living in freedom. Every day spent feeding resentment is a day stolen from your peace. Forgiveness does not mean pretending the pain never happened, nor does it always mean restoring broken trust. It means refusing to let yesterday's wounds continue controlling today's life. God did not create you to spend your future imprisoned by your past. He calls you to walk forward with a heart that is free, even when the memories remain difficult. Do not underestimate the importance of spending quiet moments with God. In a world filled with constant noise, many people hear every voice except the one that matters most. We often rush through our days asking God to bless our plans without taking time to seek His direction. Yet it is in quiet moments of prayer, reflection, and reading His Word that wisdom grows. Those hidden moments strengthen your spirit long before anyone else sees the results. Just as roots grow beneath the ground before a tree bears fruit, your private walk with God prepares you for the public responsibilities He has planned for your life. Another wise use of time is serving others. It is easy to become so focused on our own problems that we overlook the needs around us. Yet, one encouraging word, one helping hand, one sincere prayer, or one act of generosity can change someone's life forever. God often works through ordinary people who are simply willing to notice those who are hurting. Every opportunity to show compassion is an opportunity to reflect His love. Never believe that small acts of kindness are insignificant. Sometimes they become the very answer to another person's silent prayer. As you think about the future, remember that no one reaches the end of life wishing they had spent more hours worrying. Very few people wish they had worked longer while ignoring the people they loved. Most regrets come from the moments we failed to act, the words we never spoke, the forgiveness we never offered, the faith we never demonstrated, and the purpose we never pursued. Do not allow regret to become the story of your life. Make decisions today that your future self will thank you for. Live with the awareness that every day is an opportunity to become more like the person God created you to be. So, if God has given you another day, receive it with gratitude instead of taking it for granted. Wake up with a heart that is ready to honor Him in your words, your choices, and your actions. Replace distractions with devotion, fear with faith, and excuses with obedience. Invest your time in things that carry eternal value rather than temporary satisfaction. Love your family while you have the chance. Encourage those who are discouraged. Pray with sincerity. Serve with humility. Walk in integrity even when no one is watching. Most of all, trust that every faithful moment matters in the eyes of God. Your remaining time is one of heaven's greatest gifts. Do not waste it chasing what fades away. Live each day with purpose, knowing that a life surrendered to God is never a life lived in vain.